Hello everyone. So today I've received some questions on email by different people. One of the things that these people are saying is that they want to know the signs of a cultic church. And it's a very interesting question because this is something that has been happening across many churches in Africa, Nigeria, Kenya, and everywhere. We have all these people who are pastors who are manipulating and controlling people, and also people who call themselves prophets, but they have some issues that they are using some things, some powers that they are using to manipulate and control people. And so people have texted me on email and said, well, would you do a brief teaching on the signs of a cultic church? So let me first begin by saying that cults do exist. And we have seen them. We have seen them, whether they are churches, whether they are religious cults or political cults. We have cults and they exist. So what I'm going to do today, I'm going to give you a few signs about on how to be able to identify a cultic church. Okay, I think I've done this teaching before, but let me just do it again and then we will see how it works. So when I mention these signs, I'm not talking about generally your pastor, but also be very aware and be very alert to the things that are going on around you spiritually and even about your religion. All right. So the first sign that I would mention is authoritarian leadership. Now, this is in no way saying that those who are authoritarian are basically cultic, but what I'm saying is the leader of this organization demands absolute obedience and is not accountable to anyone. The moment you see that, you are in a personality cult. All right. So, another sign under authoritarian leadership is when, for example, when you question or criticize the leader, you're framed as a rebellious person. So they are not allowed, you are not allowed to criticize or to question them. You will be labeled as rebellious, you'll be labeled as sinful, and you will be seen as someone who is lacking in faith. Okay? So the leader claims to have divine authority or to have a specific message that other people don't have. So this leader claims that God only can speak to me. This can be said in words or it can be said in action. All right, that they can have this idea that when God wants to speak to a church or to speak to the church in general, he only speaks through this church. Okay, so be very careful. Sign number two is isolation from outsiders. This is where members are discouraged or you're forbidden from associating with people who are non-members of your church, and that includes family, and it also includes friends. So they claim, or this church or group or fellowship or ministry claims to be the only true church and sees the outsiders as worldly and sinful. Now, it doesn't matter who is on the outside. It could be other churches, it could be other churches that God has brought, but they are seen as worldly. So then, former members, under this isolation, former members are shunned or labeled as rebellious or as cast. So the moment you leave the group or you leave the ministry or leave the church, you already become, they treat you like you have a plague, like you have a problem, like you're sick. And so that's another sign. Anyone who leaves is cast. You cannot succeed when you leave the cult. Number three is mind control and psychological manipulation. So this is what they use as high pressure tactics that enable conformity. So you are pressured to obey, you're pressured to respect the man of God. So critical thinking is discouraged and doubts are dismissed. Whenever you bring up doubt, you are dismissed as being influenced by the devil. Okay? And as a member, you're made to feel unworthy or fearful of living. They tell you if you leave, you will die. If you leave, you will never succeed. If you leave, this will happen. Number 4 is financial exploitation. So there is excessive pressure to donate money, and sometimes you're promised to have blessings when you give. So leaders in these cultic organizations, they live lavishly while members are struggling financially, and financial transparency is lacking. In fact, if you question finances, you are discouraged. Then number 5 is extreme legalism and what we call as behavioral control. This is strict rules that govern how you dress, the relationships you get into, entertainment, and lifestyle. Strict rules. Members are monitored and are required to report personal matters to leadership. They say if you are dating someone, you've got to report it so that we can know. And they say if you are not, if you don't say it, then we don't recognize it. So they say you have to report it for you to be recognized. Breaking rules results in public shaming and exploitation and punishment and expulsion, And in this case, they say you've got to say who you're dating, why you're dating. You have all these reasons, but all they're trying to do really is to control you. And then number 6 is the us versus them mentality. So the team or the church or the ministry or the fellowship sees itself as persecuted. They play the victim, okay? So former members are vilified and outside information is dismissed as lies. Anyone who comes and says this church is a fake or this ministry is a fake or this fellowship is a fake, you're dismissed. And those who leave and they go and they speak are vilified and told and said about them that they're lies. So the group may encourage secrecy sometimes. Then there's also emotional and spiritual abuse, that number 7. Members are manipulated through fear, shame, or excessive guilt. And then you have, when you have personal struggles, you're blamed for lack of faith or for hidden sin or for having too many issues, as if no one has issues. Everyone has issues. So, but you're blamed that you have so many issues, okay? And so if you dissent, you are silenced or you're expelled. And then number 8 is the end times obsession, or what we call catastrophic thinking. There is always the prediction of imminent doom. And this doom is often tied to loyalty to the leader. That if you're loyal, as long as you're loyal to this leader, the doom will not touch you. But if you leave, then there will be doom. So you may be pressured to sell possessions, to cut ties, or make extreme life changes as a member of these organizations or these cultic churches, okay? Then there's also lack of transparency. When we talk about doctrines, there are strange doctrines that are not biblical, but are touted as biblical principles. In fact, it is more important, the word of the leader is more important than what the Bible actually says. So people don't really look at the Bible. They say, oh, so-and-so said this. Yet the Bible contradicts what this person is saying. But members don't really take time to evaluate. So former members report a stark contrast between public and private teaching. So in the public, some of these people are very, they are very nice. They look like great people. But when you meet them in private, they are different people. Okay. And then the last one is replacement of family and social bonds. So this is where this group or this church, they encourage you to prioritize church over family. In fact, you prioritize church over marriage, church over your husband, church over your wife, church over your children, church over your parents, okay? And this is a very common factor in so many cultic organizations. Now, spouses and children or parents are pressured to conform or risk being alienated. So, to them, church is more important than family, okay? In fact, they tie church with God, and they say if you come to church, you're serving God, and God is number one, right? But all these things are just simply to control you and to keep you on check. So I hope that these 10 points or 10 signs will help you. Now, What do you do if you suspect you're in a cultic church? Look for people who've been there and ask them what happened. Now, they may not always be genuine, but they will have some truth to share. Okay, talk to people, talk to friends, talk to people who are also experts in cult recovery, because there are therapists. I don't know whether we have them in Kenya or in Africa, but there are people who can help you to come out of the cultic organization or recover from the effects of a cult. Okay, if you feel pressured, set your boundaries, and then you consult resources. So go to get some books, read about them, so that you're able to understand how cults operate and how and what to do when you leave them. And I'm saying this because there's so many people who have been who have come out of cults and gone back, and it's been a serious journey for them, such that some of them have committed suicide, some of them have fallen away from the faith because of coming out and never being able to recover from that. So I hope that these 10 points are important to you, and that even as we look, as we listen, and as you teach, and as you learn, please seek more. This is not all. I'm just giving you a brief overview, but go and seek more and find out more about cults. You may find yourself in a cultic organization. Thank you, and God bless you.